so many millions of fans wanting to get a look at Michael Jordan play basketball. This his ultimate element, and this stadium was built shortly after his first retirement, and they have a statue outside of Michael Jordan, and on the plaque it says the best there ever was, the best there ever will be. Michael Jordan now in the building, and he is ready to go to talk about what he's going to do. Certainly everybody's been speculating for months whether Michael Jordan would play again in 1999, the abbreviated season. Michael Jordan is here to retire, though, and he will let you know his thoughts in this press conference.
Okay, thank you for coming to the United Center. We're obviously ready to begin our press conference. Michael Jordan will begin it with his opening statements, followed by comments from Bulls Chairman Jerry Reinsdorf and NBA Commissioner David Stern. After those statements, we'll then open it up to a question and answer session with Michael Jordan. And Michael, whenever you're ready.
Well, we do this again for the second time. I was telling my wife coming down, I felt like I was getting married, But I guess the first and foremost thing that I want to do, and I think everybody here, and today is not just a day for Michael Jordan. I think it's a lot of other serious things happening in the world, and I think I wanted to take time out to, from my family and hopefully from you guys, to give condolences to the officer that was killed in action, who so happened to have his funeral presentations today at the same time, which is kind of unfortunate. And I think that puts a lot of things in perspective in terms of what life is really about. My responsibility has been to play the game of basketball and relieve some of the pressures of everyday life, for people who have worked from 9 to 5, and I've tried to do that with the best of my abilities. But I think what's happening with his family and certainly unfortunate circumstances that happened, I'd like to pass on my condolences from my family to his, and I'm pretty sure you guys mean the same thing. I am here to announce my retirement from the game of basketball. It won't be another announcement to baseball or anything to that nature. I think everyone has their own reasonings. There's been a lot of speculations in terms of why. I'm pretty sure I get to that point once you guys get the opportunity to ask questions. But I want to say thank you to both of the gentlemen here, Mr. Stern and Mr. Reinsdorf, for presenting me with an opportunity to play the game of basketball, and certainly giving me an opportunity to come to Chicago and meet my beautiful wife and build a family here, and my family in North Carolina, a lot of my friends who have come up to support this day and support me, who have always supported me once I stepped on the basketball court, and even when I didn't play on the basketball court. I want to say thanks to both of those gentlemen, and to all the fans in Chicago for allowing me to come here, and they have adapted me to be one of theirs, and responsive. I tried to step on the basketball court and get rid of the gangster mentality that Chicago was known for a long time. And I think successfully myself and my teammates and the whole organization has made an effort to change the perspectives about Chicago. And we are hopefully going to be known as a championship city. And I hope it continues on even when Michael Jordan's not in uniform. I will support the Chicago Bulls. I think the game itself is a lot bigger than Michael Jordan. I've been given an opportunity by people before me, to name a few: Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dr. J, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West. These guys have played the game way before Michael Jordan was born. And Michael Jordan came on the heels of all that activity, and with Mr. Stern and what he's done for the league, and gave me an opportunity to play the game of basketball. And I played it to the best that I could play it, and tried to enhance the game itself. I've tried to be the best basketball player I could be, and next thing you know, here we are as a league. And I think the league is going to continue on, although we've had our troubles over the last 6 months. I think that's a reality check for all of us, that it is a business, but yet it's still fun. It's still a game. and the game will continue on. Once again, I've had a great time, you know, and I can't say enough for the people who have supported me, and you know, my life will take a change. And a lot of people say, well, Michael Jordan doesn't have any challenges away from the game of basketball. Well, I dispute that. You know, being a parent is very challenging. If you have kids, you know that. You know, and I welcome that challenge, and I look forward to it. And you know, I will live vicariously through my kids as they play the game of basketball. If they don't, you know, I will support that. You know, my wife and I would do the same. You know, we would do what we can as parents to make sure that happens. And you know, that's the challenge that I have in front of me, and I look forward to that. You know, unfortunately, my mother and my family, my brothers and sisters could not be here. But as you see me, you see them. You know, my father, my mother, and certainly my brothers and sisters. So they are here through me, and they once, along with myself, said thank you for taking me in and showing me the respect and certainly the gratitude that you have shown me over the years that I've been here. I will be in Chicago for my career, hopefully, for the rest of my life. My wife won't allow me to move nowhere else. So I will be in Chicago, and I will support Chicago teams. You know, and you know, that's all I really truly had to say. You know, I thought about saying just 2 words, I'm gone, but I figured I owe the fans and certainly the media a little bit more than that. So that's one of my reasons for being here. And I guess Jerry wants to speak first before David, and I'll pass it over to Jerry.
Well, this is a day that I think I hoped would never come. It's has to be the toughest day in the history of the Chicago Bulls. It's a tough day for Chicago. It's a tough day for the NBA. It's a tough day for basketball fans all over the world and for Michael Jordan fans all over the world. Standing here in the United Center where Michael Jordan has given us so many wonderful moments, performances, and championships, it's hard to imagine games being played here without him. Michael is simply the best player who ever put on a basketball uniform. He has defined the Bulls, the city, and the NBA for more than a decade. He will always represent the standard of excellence. His statue out in front of the building will greet everybody who ever enters this building again. When Michael retired in 1993, we retired his number 23 and hung it in a position of prominence from the rafters. When Michael came back from baseball, he asked me to take it down. He felt funny about playing when his number was hanging up above, and so we took it down. Today, Michael, we are returning your number 23 to its rightful place of honor, where it will forever serve as a reminder of your dominance on this court and your dominance of this game. Somebody will. There we go. And someday, Michael, the White Sox might retire 45. And to my leader, David Stern, the truth is that for what Michael has meant to the NBA, this number could very well be retired in every arena in the league. Certainly, we in Chicago think that anybody who wears number 23 with a basketball uniform would look like a pretender. Finally, Michael, I have one thing to present to you. For the last season, for the last game, for the last shot, I would like to present to you the 1998 World's Championship ring, which certainly means a lot to all of us. Where is it? So, Michael, thank you very much for what you have meant to all of the world. There'll never be another one like you.
Jerry, Michael, would you get in front of the banner so we can get a autograph? Oh, that's it for now.
Michael, I get to say thank you for 29 teams and hundreds of millions of fans around the world. Thank you for what you've meant to our game. Thank you for being who you were, not only for your leadership and greatness on the court, but for who you were and will continue to be off the court. Your contributions to the NBA are immeasurable, despite the fact that every newspaper in the country has an insert to detail those today, and every network has a series of programs to do it. I don't think they could ever capture all that you've meant to us. Thank you for gracing our court for 13 seasons, and I disagree with Jerry. This is not a sad day. This is a great day, because the greatest basketball player in the history of the game is getting the opportunity to retire with the grace that described his play. So to you and to Juanita and to the challenge that you define of parenthood, I wish you nothing but continued success and hope that you continue to have the good health that goes with it. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'd like to attempt to do the question and answer session in an orderly fashion. We've got 4 microphones out in the crowd here. If those of you holding the microphone could raise your hand so we can at least. Oh, I see. Okay.
Over here. Michael, when did you decide to retire, and why did you wait until today to announce it?
Maybe I'm not supposed to answer that question, but actually, I talked to Jerry last year once the season ended, and I told Jerry at that time that mentally I was a little exhausted. I didn't know if I would play next year. I wanted to put him on awareness so that he could possibly prepare going into next season. And Jerry, once we had our conversation, wanted me to take time, as I did in '93, to make sure that it was the right decision, because it was going to be the final decision. And he encouraged me to wait until the time came to where I made that announcement. And in the middle of that process, with the lockout, I wanted to support the players. I wanted to be there and voice some of the opinions of some of the players and give my input, because I felt it as an obligation to the players of tomorrow, just as the players before me have stood up and supported the collective bargaining agreement for me to utilize in my negotiations. I felt obligated to do the same. And so when the lockout ended, I felt appropriate to, at this particular time, announce my retirement, so that it could give the Bulls an opportunity to do what they have to do in terms of getting their future on and utilizing the financial gains of my contract being renounced or terminated to where they can rebuild or build another structure amongst the team. So that's one of the reasons that I waited until this point.
You compare the reasons for your retirement, feeling about it, to the last time you retired, and why you're so certain this role in it for you?
Well, it's very similar. Mentally, I'm exhausted. I don't feel I have a challenge. Physically, I feel great. The last time in '93, I had other agendas. I knew I wanted to play baseball, and I felt that at my age, it was a good opportunity, time to do it. And with the death of my father, and I was basically trying to deal with that. And this time, I'm at peace with a lot of those things. I know, from a career standpoint, I've accomplished everything I could as an individual. And right now, I don't have the mental challenges that I've had in the past to proceed as a basketball player. Sure, I'm pretty sure people say, well, it's a lot of different challenges that could evolve. And for me, to start something and then in the middle of the season lose interest and lose my motivation. It's unfair to the people that I'm working with and working for and to the fans. So I alleviated that opportunity by saying, you know, this is the perfect time for me to walk away from the game, and I'm at peace with that. And unfortunately, we've had some problems in the collective bargaining agreement, but you know, I think those situations have solved, and we have to get past that. I don't know if you guys have heard that question, but I think I could restate it. The question was, although the differences between myself and management apparently was not the same, and did that have any impact in my decision? Plus, if Phil Jackson would have been the coach, would I have played on? You know, that's a big if. You know, I retired the first time when Phil Jackson was the coach, and I think that even with Phil the coach, I would have had a tough time mentally finding a challenge for myself, although he could somehow present challenges for me. You know, I don't know if he could have presented a challenge for me to continue on with this season, even though, you know, midway in the season I wanted to continue to play a couple more years, but at the end of the season I was mentally drained and tired, and so I can't really say that he would have restored that. In terms of my disagreements with the management about some of the decision making, you know, that's always been my opinions. It hadn't been, you know, ultimatums or, you know, twisting their arms. You know, the good thing about an organization, the good thing about any team, you may have disagreements, but that doesn't mean you know, the focus is not there in terms of trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve. Management may take a different approach in terms of rebuilding and whatever, and that's their prerogative. I would never say that that's wrong. You know, that's their prerogative to make that statement or make that notion to do that. And I support them even though I'm not playing. But a matter of different opinions, I don't think would have changed my mind in terms of my retirement at this stage of you know, going into the next year. It was difficult because you're giving up something that you truly, truly love. And my love for the game is very strong, and it's hard to give up that love. But for the sake of, you know, the mental challenges that Michael Jordan needs to drive himself to be the best basketball player he can be, you know, I don't want to fool myself going into a situation knowing that I'm not 100%, you know, challenged mentally. You know, physically I feel fine. You know, with the unfortunate thing with my finger, but other than that, I'm fine. And you know, but mentally, I just felt like I didn't have the challenges in front of me.
Michael, I guess the question a lot of people around town want to know is, what do you see next for the Bulls? How do you see them competing this year, and do you think that they could possibly carry on the legacy that you established of being one of the premier, the elite teams in the league?
Well, I think it presents a challenge for them, you know, to live up to the standards that we have brought here in the city of Chicago. I think it's part of the challenge for Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf and Tim Floyd to maintain that. And I think they welcome that challenge, and that's good. And it depends on how they take that in action. You know, I don't know what decisions they're going to make in terms of free agency, or I like to see them keep Scottie Pippen around and give him the just due that he's very deserving, but that's just my opinion once again. But we set high standards here, and the pressure's on them to maintain that. Now, how long will that last? Will it be next year? I think you know, that's hard for me to say. You know, but I'm pretty sure they got to live with that as they move further. You know, and I'm pretty sure they want that to happen. They want to live up to the standards, and that's a part of the challenge, and I support that.
Michael, two questions. The first one, I want you to tell me whether the second three-peat was more precious than the first. And second question is, are you leaving with absolutely no more desire to play?
Lacey, you're great. I like you, Lacey. The second three-peat by far is the one that you have to cherish the most because it's the hardest. I felt it was the hardest to achieve. You know, especially when the team was dismantled to some degree and then brought back with different talent, players from programs that never really experienced with the expectations that we had experienced with here in Chicago, and we, and I felt it was harder. And we overcame that, and we won 3 in a row. So I would say that's better than the first 3. Now, which team is better? I would think the first team is the better of the second team that won 3 in a row. But it was definitely harder to win the second 3 in a row than the first 3. In terms of desire is always going to be there. If the desire is not there, the love was never there. But I have to make a judgment in terms of the desire. All the time I step on the basketball court, not 1/4 of the time, but every time I step on the basketball court. And I can't honestly say that's going to be there every time I step into this building for 82 games or 100 and some games that we play in the course of the year. And I've always been sure about that, and now I'm unsure about that. So with that doubt, I choose to make my own decisions about retirement.
Michael, is this a true story that you came back? One reason that you came back was because your son Jeffrey told you that Shaquille O'Neal was the greatest basketball player. And if it is true, if you have another child, might you come back again?
No, that's not true, but my middle kid loves Dennis Rodman. He wants red hair, so I mean, I don't think that's going to drive me back, but that is not a true statement. And I'm not against my kids idolizing other people, because that means they see me as their father, and they really don't see me as a basketball player. And that means my wife and I are doing our jobs in terms of being the great parent that we have to be. So if they see other players as being, their idols, I don't have a problem with that. Just no red hair in my household.
Michael, which were you more proud of, your athletic skills or the mental skills that you brought to the game, and which was more difficult to keep up?
Well, I came in here with the physical skills. To some degree, I was born with the appetite to enhance it as I got older and as I played the game. But the mental skills came with the education of the game, that either I learned from Coach Smith before I got here, or I learned in the course of the coaching staffs that I've been endured with. Tex Winter probably being the most, because he was probably the one that would criticize my game more than anybody, and to me that's a plus. That's a driving force for me. But the mental part is hard because you have to really learn, take in everything that you've learned over a period of time and apply that to your game and tie that into the physical aspect to your game and make the complete basketball player that you try to become. So physically it's a little bit easier, but the mental part is the hardest part, and I think that's the part that separates the good players from the great players.
Michael, is there any chance whatsoever that you'll change your mind somewhere down the road and return?
No. I never say never, but 95, 99.9%, I'm very secure with my decision.
Michael, we heard Jerry Reinsdorf say this was a sad day. We heard David Stern say it was a happy day. What are you thinking? What kind of emotions do you have as you make this announcement? Are you mixed about it? Have you been overcome yet? What's going on inside?
It's tough. I'm doing a good job trying to hold back the emotions because it's like taking away something that I truly have loved for the last, I started when I was 12 years old. Now I'm 36 next month, so 24 years I've been playing the game, and it's part of both. It's sad that I have to, that I'm leaving the game, but it's happy because my life is starting to go into a whole nother stage. Basketball for me was the first stage. It got me to this point in my life, and I knew it had to end. My life takes on a different stage now, and it's a different challenge, and I welcome that, and I knew it was coming. So I'm happy that it's gotten to this point. I'm happy that you guys didn't run me out of the game. I chose to walk away knowing that I can still play the game, and that's what I wish, you know, for my career to end. You know, that's exactly the way I wanted to end it.
Michael Jordan is going out on top of his game. Season after season, he broke records, made history, and kept the arena crowd on its feet. But after 13 years with the famed Chicago Bulls, Jordan has decided it's time to retire.
I am here to announce my retirement from the game of basketball. It won't be another announcement to baseball or anything to that nature. I think everyone has their own reasonings.
It's not unexpected because of disagreements with Bulls management and the shortened season, according to a Jordan teammate.
I mean, if we could have things our way, I'm sure that, you know, Michael probably could play another couple of years and would embrace the opportunity.
Jordan wanted Coach Phil Jackson to stay on with the Bulls, but that was not to be. Most fans here say this is the end of an era, not only for the Bulls, but for Chicago as well. Kids still play basketball, wanting to grow up and be like Mike.
What was so great about him?
The jump shots and the dunks. When he starts to shoot, he sticks his tongue out.
That was the best thing, huh?
Yes.
One youngster who played against Jordan in a sports drink television commercial says Jordan is someone to be looked up to.
I feel kind of sorry, but he retired when he was at the top, so that's good.
Jordan's retirement is front-page news, not only here, but around the world.
Michael Jordan.
But for the people of Chicago, the image of number 23 literally flying through the air will not soon be forgotten.
It's the memory of Michael Jordan that people will carry down through the years. Most of Chicago is saying, thank you, Michael. It was a thriller of a ride. Steve Walsh, ABC News, Chicago.
As you know, not just professional basketball players, but all professional athletes have to take into account when they're stepping out in the public side.
Michael, you've had so many thrills in your career, and you've provided so many highlights and thrills for everyone. From college all the way to that last shot against the Jazz in Game 6 last June. Could you perhaps point out one or two of them that really stick out in your mind that just stands above the rest?
Well, the first and last shot, those are two that you just can't erase because it started and ended my career to some degree. The year we got past the Pistons, because I was getting over the hump. You know, we got to the hump, but we never really could get over the hump. I think the year that we beat Cleveland, when no one thought we could beat Cleveland, I think that gave the city, or got the city behind the Chicago Bulls, that if you put your mind to something, you can accomplish what you believe in. And a lot of people didn't give us a chance. And we went out and we beat Cleveland. And I think that showed to the public here in Chicago that, you know, either you're with us or not. We got to make a change here in the Chicago Bulls organization. And we're going to have to do it with the belief starting within and then hopefully extending outside of that. And I think that was a major step into that whole thought process. You know, not right now. You know, I can't say I will never say never. You know, but you know, I want to get away from basketball a little bit. You know, and look at it from afar. And if the interest evolves somewhere down the road, it's fine. I wouldn't mind that. But right now, you know, the only coaching I can do is at home, and I'm having a tough time doing that. But you know, I'd rather get away from the game a little bit.
Michael, you said you'd only play for Phil Jackson. Hypothetically, if Phil Jackson ended up somewhere else, let's say Madison Square Garden, would you ever play for Phil again?
You know, that's not even envisioned in my mind right now. You know, and you know, so I don't think that's going to happen. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen. And if Phil ends up in New York, I'm happy for Phil. But although I love New York, I can't see myself coming out of retirement and playing in New York. No, but it kind of looked that way. Up to that point, all my shots were short because I was getting tired. And I guess the lessons that you learn over the years is that, you know, stick with the shot a little longer, make sure you get that extra little bit. And that was my thinking, was to make sure that I extend and go through the necessary fundamentals to get the ball to the basket. Turned out to look as if, you know, I was posing for all the photographers, but, you know, that was not the case. Well, the most unfortunate thing, it was an accident trying to cut a cigar. And I severed a tendon, which I have to have surgery on in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully it doesn't alter my golf game, but my decision was made before this happened. And if, you know, from what doctors have told me, that even if I chose to play, I wouldn't be able to play for 2 months. You know, but that never had any factors in terms of my decision.
You've been able to transcend geographical, racial, social barriers. With your stature and respect, do you go into seclusion now, or do you try to maybe solve some of the world's problems?
Well, it's two big no's. I don't think I can go in seclusion. And certainly I can't solve the world's problems. There's a lot of problems out there. There's a lot of things that I can lend my support to. I will do that. Seclusion is, you know, for me, will back away from the public eye to some degree. Still have obligations with endorsements that will require me to be in the public's forefront for a little while. But so, you know, I would be hopefully I'll be on a minor scale in terms of I will still be doing commercials. That's simple. But I can't save the world by no means.
Michael, as someone who's created motivation for himself in a lot of different instances, do you look at all the people surrounding you telling you that you couldn't give the game up as, I don't know, maybe some motivation to give it up?
No. I just, when I heard people saying that, they didn't know Michael Jordan. I mean, and it's mostly speculation, and I try not to let that influence my decision in terms of what I know what's best for Michael Jordan. And conversating with my wife and my friends, and, you know, once I get feedback from them, I make my own decision, not based on what I read or what I hear. You know, there was a lot of speculation that was totally untrue, but, you know, I'm pretty sure people had a chance to read it and enjoy it, but it didn't influence my decisions by no means.
Michael, last time you used the terminology not slamming the door shut. You're not using it this time either with the 99.9. Does that mean you're still not slamming it shut? And also, now that you got your ring, will you still show up the night of the ring ceremony here?
Well, that's what I asked you, if there was going to be a ring ceremony night. And, you know, I'd love to still come and support the rest of the players and see some of the players that may not be here. But, you know, so I look forward to doing that if that happens. 99.9 says as you read it, you know, it's not really 100%, but it's close. You know, so, you know, that's where I stand. I'm not going to say never, you know. Say 99.9, and you take it as what it's worth. It's never going to be another Michael Jordan. It's never going to be another Dr. J. I knew that. It was never going to be another Elgin Baylor. I knew that. So the kids of tomorrow, it's never going to be another Michael Jordan. You know, it can be a Grant Hill, it can be Anthony Hardaway, it can be Kobe Bryant, but Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. And you may pick bits and pieces of his game or his personality, and somehow correlated to yours. But either way, you have to evolve to be the person that you are. Sure, that you're going to use comparisons as a standard of measurement. Yes, that happens, but it's different circumstances that you have to deal with. You know, in each era, you know, I didn't have the same things facing me as Dr. J had in his era, and I'm pretty sure Kobe and some of the guys who come behind me is not going to have the same. You know, so they have to evolve to be the players that they are or they're going to be, with maybe my influences and other influences, but. You're right. It's not going to be another Michael Jordan, and I wouldn't advise the other guys to try to be that or do that.
You've talked so much about all the positives and everything regarding your career. During your career, what was the most difficult things for you to go through?
Losing early on, and I guess it's part of losing that you had to change your game to the criticisms that you were receiving. Well, Michael Jordan doesn't make his basketball, his players around him better. And there was some truth to that, you know, because I didn't really know how, and I had to learn to do that. So that was a challenge, but yet it was a negative towards Michael Jordan, and I used that negative as a positive. You know, there's a lot of negative things that happened to me in my life, you know, within the game of basketball and outside basketball. But I've always been able to take that negative and turn it into a positive as a learning experience, but yet, you know, move forward from. And I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change any of the lessons that I've learned from the negative and the positive, because I think that helped me evolve to be the person that I am. But it was a lot of negative things that enhance, you know, me as a person and as a player.
Michael, did you anticipate the lockout taking this long, and did you think the agreement was fair?
I didn't anticipate it being this long. I think the players were willing to sit out for the best deal that they felt was fair. And I'm in favor of what the majority says. You know, if the players and everyone feel this is a fair deal, I'm happy. I always felt, and I've said it even before, in the last collective bargaining agreement, I can be pleased under any collective bargaining agreement, but the majority has to be pleased with the collective bargaining agreement. And it's very evident that they were. Patrick Ewing and the whole negotiating team, as well as myself, when I tried to contribute, we were fighting for the best deal that the majority would accept. And majority accepted. In terms of fairness, we'll see. You know, we see how the things happen and see if, you know, some of the awareness or some of the things that the owners wanted to address is addressed, but yet the players, what they felt were sticking points are still addressed, and it turns out to be a fair deal for the game. I'm happy with that. That's all I ever wanted, you know, from both sides.
Michael, it's going to be difficult for the Bulls to get back to where it was with you not being there. At some point in the future, could you see yourself reconciling yourself as to being part of the club as far as helping them out marketing or helping them to rebuild this club at any point in the future?
I'm not against that. I think, but the best way to survive without Michael Jordan is, you know, somehow start to live without him, you know, in some respects. And I'm always going to support the Chicago Bulls because it's given me, you know, a great joy to be a part of the organization. But life without Michael Jordan somehow has to be, and sometimes has to be, without Michael Jordan's input, you know. And, you know, but I will, you know, if need be, if they need my support in anything, I will certainly consider that and would lend my 2 cents to it.
Michael, I would assume that you would say the sacrifices that you had to go through in terms of everything, sacrifices of privacy and things like that, were worth it on some level because of the success you've had. But are there any things that you had to give up that at all bother you, or do you have resentment toward? And also, what do you think the future life will be in terms of public versus private? Will you?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of things about my lifestyle that I truly don't like, you know, but I've come to accept because I've stepped into the form that I have to deal with it. You know, there's so much speculation about things that are totally untrue, but you have to deal with it, and you have to let it roll off the back and deal with it. And you learn not to bring it too much to focus because, you know, it's not worth the headache. But hopefully that would subside some as I step away from the spotlight. May not, but I have to deal with it in whatever respects. And that's one of the unfortunate things that a celebrity has to deal with is the speculations and some of the untrue things that have been that are printed about them. And it's unfair, but it's a part of the whole picture, I guess, to some degree. I like that, Bill, because I talked to Patrick, I talked to Charles, I talked to Carl, I talked to all of them, and I'm pretty sure they feel the same. They all wanted me to come back just so that if they win a championship, they can say they'd gone through Chicago or Michael Jordan to win it, to give it the meaning that it, of taking a title away from Chicago. And that's the good thing about it, that they will never have the chance to say that. That's what I was so glad that Magic played and Bird played when I won my titles, because now, I had to go through to some degree Boston and L.A. Patrick, I don't know. He won't be able to live with himself if he can't beat Michael Jordan in a series. And Charles Barkley, I told, would never win because he doesn't dedicate himself to winning. But, all of them joked with me and hated to see the possibility of me retiring just because, they didn't have an opportunity to beat me in the finals or get past me. And that is a cute thing about retiring. And I will always hold that in high respect when I see these guys socially.
We're going to go with 3 more questions.
Juanita, what are your feelings about the retirement? How's this going to change your life?
Actually, my life won't change at all. I see Michael doing more carpooling. That's about it.
None. None. Phil and I, we talked all season long about, what the possibilities may be at the end of the season. And once he made his decision, he didn't want his decisions to influence mine. And I said it wouldn't. And I didn't want my decision to influence you. Sure, I'm saying that I would rather play for Phil Jackson if he's here. But that's just my opinion. But that doesn't tell me, or shouldn't have you make the best decision suited for Phil Jackson, because that's the first and foremost for me, is to make sure that you're happy. And he didn't have any influence in terms of what he didn't even know. I haven't talked to Phil since somewhere midway in the summer. And if the season would have started in October, I would pretty sure that I would have made the same decision. I don't think that changed by doing it now.
Michael, one last time for the record, why do you have to walk out of here with that 1% in your pocket?
Because it's my 1% and not yours. That's why.
Michael used to consult with your father throughout your life about so many important decisions. If he were here today, what type of advice do you think he would have given you about making this choice?
I think it wouldn't have been any different than what I said. What you see from me is what you see from, he would have done the same thing. He probably would have loved to answer questions before I would have answered the questions, but he would have probably told me this is the perfect time. The writing's on the wall. Take it and walk away with it with your head held high, and and enjoy your kids and move on. And so it doesn't differ from what I'm doing. My second father, Gus, said the same thing. Wherever Gus is, he's been saying the same thing for a while. I guess he just liked to get out of Chicago from the warm weather. So, So it's no different than what's happened. You know, my father would basically give me the same advice, and my mother basically did. You know, so.
Michael, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chicago.
We're going to repose that photo. I'm going to repose that photo. Jerry. Yeah, David. You want to hold that this way? No, I need it. Oh, that's it.
What are we doing? What are we doing? I think they want me to hold this while they take better pictures.
Oh, all right. I thought the only good answer was one.
Carpooling?
That was good. I hope you like the ring.
I love it.
Clever, yeah.
The wife did it this time?
Brady?
Tell her I think she did.
Cut the podiums. You see how you get the
Again, for all media who are interested in talking to the commissioner, to the left of the stage, as you're facing the stage, will be all non-Chicago local media. To the right will be all Chicago media.
Staying on the riser will be all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that was vintage Michael Jordan. Always remaining in the spotlight, always leaving people with something to think about. Jordan giving that 0.1% possibility of a comeback. Now, nobody here really expects to see him on a basketball court again unless he comes out and does the ceremonial opening tip at the first Bulls home game or something like that. But Jordan always leaving. Yeah, great. Thanks. So I'm just going to throw it. Test? Okay. On 6 different occasions, Michael Jordan used the term mentally challenging, said that he could not muster up the mental challenge. Okay. Can you crank my IFB a little bit? Billy, just talk to me again. A little louder if you could. Okay, then I will. I'll tease that then. Okay. I may say something like, but the biggest reason for Jordan to step away at this time, a reason he cited 6 or 7 times during this press conference. Boom, and that's where I say I'm mentally exhausted. Okay. But Bill, Bob's throwing to me, right?